Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Hello and welcome to the Popternative podcast, the podcast and talk show where we have digital discussions from the worlds of TV, film, music, pop culture, news, lifestyle, everything really, depending on the guest who talk about it all. As always, I'm your host, Peter Remoliotis. On social media, you know me as PD Beats. My guest is the vocalist of a band called Ascent Like Wolves. Their third record, Mystic Auras, will be available February 19th from We Are Triumphant Records. We are with Al Boltz. Al, welcome to Popternative, man.
I'm glad to be here.
I'm really happy we're able to do this. I mean, kind of a fun, an exciting time a little bit right now for the band, for Ascent Like Wolves. I mean, like, calm before the storm a little bit, you know, releasing some singles here and there, but the new record's coming out in around a month. Like, I mean, it must be kind of like a calm before the storm kind of moment for the band right now.
Yeah, I think like for pretty much exactly how you're saying it. All the hectic kind of stuff we've already been through, and now we're just like waiting for this thing to drop. We actually first started recording Mystic Auras January 2019.
Oh, yeah.
So we've been working on it for a while, and for us to actually see like a release date for it, we're like, yes.
You guys have been a
So,
band for a good amount of time. This is your third release. But, you know, I talked about it before. I mean, there's something special with this record. The artwork, the vocals, the just production of it, the features. I mean, did you guys at one point while you were making this record, Al, kind of have the same feelings as I did? Like, this is something good. Like, we have something good with this record.
yeah, I think like the majority of the band, especially like the studio side of the band, we always kind of think of like intricate concepts, and before like an album even comes out, we pretty much already have one like a concept lined up to go. Even now we do for a future release. So for me, I like to always think of the future, and just like I said, I have something in mind already for after Mystic Auras, and like a artwork cover and sketches I've done for it and stuff.
Planning ahead, basically.
Yeah, and for me, like if I get an idea like that, I know like I can run with it and I'm good. And a couple months ago, before we started, you know, like planning the release and putting songs out and whatnot, I didn't have any ideas, so I was worried like, uh-oh, is this it? But yeah, Mystic Auras is, to me, probably my favorite Ascent Like Wolves studio release.
Yeah.
And like you were saying, like the artwork and the features, I feel like they're sort of phenomenal, and everybody in the band's really excited about the release.
It's like you knew what my next question was. It's like you're a wizard. It's like you knew.
Ooh.
Obviously, something kind of prominent this new record is the features. A feature is something that's been around this scene for a long, long time. What do you think is so impactful and prominent about a feature from other kind of vocalists on like albums like Ascent Like Wolves, Mystic Auras?
Well, I think just like in general, there's some sort of, I feel like there's some sort of like hidden rule or something in rock where people are just like afraid to have features on their release for some reason.
Yeah.
And like it's going to take away from the album or something like that. And in rap music, it's very common. There's a feature almost on every song for like albums.
I was about
And
to say, yeah, the whole genre has kind of shifted
Yeah.
towards features.
yeah, and I think you know, instead of everybody trying to just stay in their own bubble and not collaborate with one another, it's just kind of like, God, it's kind of strange for me. You know what I mean? Like
Oh, absolutely.
to just think of that concept. And everyone's
Have
like,
you
no, we
featured
gotta.
on someone else before? Have you ever done
Uh,
guest features?
yeah, I did a feature for our friends in Japan. They have a band called Sailing Before the Wind,
Mm-hmm.
and the other vocalist in Ascent Like Wolves, Nick, we teamed up on it. Actually, it's really cool. You should check it out.
I will.
It's called Northern Wings.
A lot of really cool bands
Uh,
from Japan. Like tons of really cool bands from
uh,
there.
yeah, it's crazy. Both times we've toured there. The local, just like the local bands that have been on the shows are like also phenomenal. I'm like, everybody has like an Axe FX3, and they have like all the crazy gear, and everybody's so choreographed. It's insane, but it's awesome. Yeah, it's definitely a great place to tour and be. But to keep going with your question about the
Yeah.
features, one of the ideas that I had for the record would be that we get vocalists from across the world on it, and just different countries and whatnot, different places, and it sort of ties into the theme of Mystic Auras, which is kind of like what drives people's desires, and I feel like it also ties into the artwork. Like it's very um, like ominous, and it kind of like draws you in, like an aura in like every city. So yeah, it's very cool that we got Bucanile from Make Them Suffer. They're from Australia, and JT from Era. They're from the US, and our friend Matt and Novelists. They're in France. So before we got Brian from Currents on the release, we actually had plans to get Ken from Crossfaith on the album, so he'd be from like another country. But we didn't have enough time, and we had to we had to send the record in. We had like a deadline, so I asked Brian from Currents, who's a good friend, if he could do it, and he did it in like 2 days, and his part's phenomenal. So
All the bands you mentioned that have features on the record, all those bands are just so good. Like literally, like you're just kind of
yeah,
naming like nonstop.
they're like bands we look up to also, and bands that hopefully we can tour with in the future. And I think yeah, it's been like one of our goals for the US at least, is to be on a tour like that with one of those bands. So but pretty much everybody that is featured on the record we knew previously, just from playing a show with them, interacting with them at shows, or talking online. So
Oh,
my
a
dog's going
cameo
crazy.
appearance.
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah,
god.
she just ate. I don't know what she wants, but
For people that listen to your band, there's a lot of bands of whatever genre. That's another thing too. The genres have been, I feel like, thrown out the window a little bit. It's all kind of like, like, because remember there was like metalcore, like post-hardcore and everything. I feel like, yeah,
yeah.
there's some bands like, it's like, yeah, that's deathcore. You know what I mean? But like, I mean, I said like Wolves, you could put you guys in a lot of different categories, which I think is pretty interesting
There,
too.
there's no more boundaries.
Yeah, pretty much. But like your band does a
Yeah,
good job of like, I feel like the mix of like the clean vocals and the unclean vocals, right? There's a little bit of both. Was that kind of an important thing that you and the band talked about kind of moving forward, especially with Mystic Auras, to kind of have that balance? Is it kind of just how it happened type thing? Like talk a little bit about that, because there is a good complementary mix of like the screams and like the clean vocals on the record.
thank you. Yeah, I guess like some of our past releases, like And the Story Goes and Frigid Future, in some aspects they're a little heavier,
Yep.
I would say. But this, even like the tunings for Mystic Auras, they're a lot. I feel like they're a lot more like alternative rock style. And the other vocalist, like I said, is actually my brother, and sometimes we'll just sit in a room together and write lyrics and parts, and we kind of
That's
figure
I
that
was
stuff
about to
out
say
too.
that's pretty convenient, eh?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's funny because sometimes we disagree, but it's not really like that big of a deal. Like one of us will just take a step back, be like, okay, yeah, that works. But that's kind of what we do. We sort of plan like what lines, or what bridge or chorus is going to be screaming and singing, and who's doing it. And it's really interesting because at first I thought on Mystic Auras we wouldn't even really be screaming at all, or very little. And it's like the most screaming I've done for like a record in a while. So uh, yeah, we always try to like find a fair balance, especially in between on the same song, if both of us are going to be on the song.
The landscape for bands like A Scent Like Wolves is changing. There's nothing we could do about it. It's changing. It's a different landscape. Touring was put on hold for a like big amount of time with the pandemic. There's a lot of different things. There's a lot of changes. One thing that has kind of, I believe, erupted in the last couple of years that your band has benefited from is streaming services and playlists on Spotify. Scent Like Wolves have a lot of songs that are on some of these playlists, these new core playlists, these new rock playlists, these heavy music playlists. I listen to them all the time. That's how I kind of discover a lot of bands. And I feel like a lot of bands have discovered you guys because of that. Talk a little bit about the impact that playlist on Spotify, Al, has had for your band Ascent Like Wolves.
Very good impact. It's funny because I remember when we put Frigid Future out, the kind of to go to thing was YouTube more or less.
Yeah.
And it was so much easier to promote your video and spend money for advertising and just anything like that YouTube oriented was just a lot easier, and it costs a lot less than it does now too. And for just to do that stuff on YouTube or use Google AdWords, it costs so much more money, and they sort of hinder your reach for stuff. And to me, it's kind of like, you hear people talk about the algorithm, but it's a real thing.
Yeah.
I don't know why these platforms have been doing that. I guess they want you to spend more money to kind of promote your material, but yeah,
well, that's what it is. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know if
So
I don't know if that really
yeah.
is what it is.
But I mean, even if it seems like you spend a couple $100s on something, it doesn't really sometimes give you the results that you're looking for. And when we came out with Spirit Vessel, I think Spotify was starting to really make an impact for the scene and for music in general, and for artists like us who haven't really sort of tipped, you know what I mean, in that sense. But yeah, we've been having some real good success with Spotify. A lot of people messaging us about that, like, "Oh, hey, I heard you guys on the Newcore playlist. You guys are awesome." And we're like, "Hell yeah!" Like
that's my favorite one, by the way. Like, because there's a lot. The Newcore playlist is amazing because it really gives you kind of a wide variety of bands.
Right. Yeah. I like that one, and Crash Course is pretty cool.
Crash Course is good, but I pulled up Ascent Like Wolves Spotify, if you don't mind. And I just wanted to and like, songs that I believe are going to be on like the new record, right? Like Bloom and Eastern Lights is on the new record. And like those songs both have over 100,000 plays already, which is like pretty crazy to think about. And there's 53,000 people on a monthly basis that are listening to your band. Like, have you ever thought about that? Like, that's a lot of people, man.
Yeah, I like lately we kind of, I guess the word is like, we kind of zero in on Spotify a lot more now, and we pay attention to it. And
it's a lot, man. That's
like it's crazy to me. Like, I don't even, hey, no barking. No barking. Or some of our neighbors are loud. But jeez. She doesn't like what's going on right now.
It's okay. I have a Morkie, Al, so I could relate. I have a Morkie, so they bark.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
That's pretty cool. How old?
7. He's getting a bit old.
Yeah, I think my dog's name is Nina. I think she's like roughly the same age.
Oh, nice.
But
yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, I think like Spotify has definitely been a good thing for the industry.
Bloom is like, okay, which one because you guys are releasing a single tomorrow, I believe, right? Which I'm really excited for. Is that Chemical? What are you releasing tomorrow?
Tomorrow Poison comes out,
Poison.
or I should say at midnight tonight.
Okay.
And Poison is a song we've been looking forward to releasing, because I think it is more or less like what we define Mystic Auras as, and Bloom. I think like Eastern Lights and Death Effect are like some of the heavier elements of the record.
People are loving Bloom. Like that song seems to be hitting. I don't know if it's also because they like JT also, but like I don't know. I feel like that song is hitting for you guys.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like that's the one we picked for a music video and a single too, because I feel like it's just so dynamic, and that's kind of the direction we really wanted to push it towards, like those alternative rock type U2, Angels and Airwaves guitar riffs and stuff like that.
So good.
But yeah, like Spotify is crazy, and I'm kind of glad that the industry is kind of focusing on like one app instead of like 700.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
No, absolutely.
So I think that gives like bands and musicians more of a direction in that sense as to like what to focus on and what to do. But I'm like super stoked on our Spotify numbers and everybody who's listening and just finding out about a set like Wolves for the first time in general.
But it's not even to discredit like the first two records of your band. They're great, you know what I mean? But have you kind of noticed that kind of spike and rise of kind of popularity of the band ahead of the hype of this new record? Because I'm a fan of music too, right? Like I see the hype. It's going to a different level, I feel like.
I hope it keeps going, man.
But you know where I'm coming from though, right? Like bands grow and everything.
There's like, so the only other time I sort of felt this kind of way in this band is when we toured Japan and China when Frigid Future just came out. It felt like there was just kind of some sort of magic in the air. And I have the same feeling as I did then as I do right now.
Wow.
So for me, it's just like an incredible thing because I thought we were never even going to finish the album, to be honest with you, or be a band.
Yeah.
It's taken a lot of planning and individually for like us to get our lives together, and that took a little bit of time. We took a break after Spirit Vessel, so I'm stoked that we waited to put this record out as long as we did and planned it more intelligently than we did last time.
Oh, absolutely.
So
no, for sure. Well, Al, thank you so much for joining me on Popternative for a little bit. I really appreciate it, man.
Thanks for having me, man. It's been great.
So, I mean, a lot of cool things. Poison's coming out. Poison's coming out tomorrow or midnight tonight, so that's exciting. The record is going to be available February 19th. Mystic Auras.
That's correct. And we do have a single coming out the same day. It's called Telephone with a video.
It's just
pretty stoked on that one too.
There's just a lot of good. It's a good like it's weird, right? Because my show did well during the pandemic too, right? Because I mean it's a horrible time for a lot of people, but a lot of people listened to my show and discovered me because they had a lot of time on their hands.
That's
I feel
badass.
like it's been a good time for a scent like Wolves. I feel like there's a lot of momentum right now.
Yeah, I'd say, and like this next month is probably going to feel the same way as well.
Absolutely.
But you've listened to the whole record, right?
I have. I have the pleasure.
Do you have a favorite song?
Well, I hate to be that, like, Bloom is just the track. I do like Poison, but probably Poison, but I do like Bloom, man. And I feel like you put that out, like, as the music video kind of on purpose, you know what I mean? Like, because it was that, like, that's the song that kind of hits me, I feel like.
Yeah, for me too, I think that might have been the first song we actually wrote for the album. That and Deja Vu, I think.
Deja Vu is a good one too.
But it's crazy because we had like this huge open genty part towards the end of the song, and when we threw JT on the track, and Era actually just recorded at the same studio we did too, and on one of their days off, we asked JT if he'd come and actually shoot his part for the video, and he did. He came to Philly and filmed it, and that was the first time he was ever in a video that wasn't one of his own bands.
I think I love Mystic Auras and A Scent Like Wolves because this is like a strange. It's strange, to be honest with you. It's cool, but it's strange too, right? Because like I'm a fan of music too, right? Like I listen to your band a lot. You're on my show as a guest. Like it's pretty cool, but it's kind of weird. But it's a cool weird. You know what I mean?
Dude, that's awesome, man. I mean, like I hope everybody is.
But you don't limit yourself as a band. Like kind of like you don't. There are no boundaries. Like you listen to, you put on the record, and like there's all these different kind of sounds and moments. There's melodic moments. There's some like poppy moments in it. If you listen to it deeply, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of cool things going on. So I think that's kind of something I love the record, man. Like I think you guys got something here.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Where can people follow the band on social media as well?
Yeah, you can find us on Instagram and Twitter as ASLW Official. I think Facebook we are / A Scent Like Wolves. Yep. TikTok we're sort of new to yet. I quite haven't figured that out. But yeah, I'm just stoked that we're actually releasing this thing, and every time we come out with a new record, we want there to be something different about our band.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm glad that people are starting to take notice a little more.
For sure, man. Well, seriously, thank you so much, and good luck with the release, man. It's amazing.
Thank you.
No problem. Well, it's
been fun here, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this has been Popternative. YouTube.com/Popternative for previous episodes. Sent Like Wolves, their new record, Mystic Auras, will be available February 19th on We Are Triumphant Records. Until next time, this is Al Boltz from Ascent Like Wolves and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.